I'm going to talk about something a little bit unpleasant, and that is sex abuse in the church and the kind of people that we have in churches. It's not a comfortable topic, but it's something we recently had somebody come and potentially work for the church in the children's department. And they were keen on it. And then we spoke privately, and I talked about our policies so as to protect children against pedophiles. And just talking about pedophilia out loud made this person so uncomfortable that they decided they didn't want to work here. There are a lot of people that feel like it's sinful or bad to acknowledge that there's a lot of abuse in churches. And I think that's really a shame. I think in order to end abuse, we have to acknowledge abuse and then not only have the right policies in place, but have the right culture to protect those policies. So I'm going to read a little bit about a specific incident, and then we'll talk about the issue of protecting children and the kind of populace that we're trying to minister to right now. The title is Former Volunteer Youth Leader at a Texas Beltway Park Church Arrested. A former volunteer youth leader at Beltway Park Church, a multi-site large Southern Baptist congregation in Abilene, Texas, has been charged with possession of child pornography. Charles Goff reportedly confessed his struggles with pornography and a propensity to watch videos of underage teen girls to a member of Beltway Park, who then contacted police. According to court documents, Goff admitted he had been using social media to contact teens from the videos to solicit explicit photos and videos. Police say they found 3 pornographic videos of teen girls on Goff's phone. At the time of reporting, Goff was being held in the Taylor County Jail on a $100,000 bond. The church released a letter to its congregation about the accusations against Goff, signed by lead pastor David McQueen, according to KTXS. That's KTAB was what started this reporting. The letter said the church has, quote, always prioritized the safety and well-being of every member of its church. Beltway learned about Goff's actions in June of 2024 and immediately contacted proper authorities, according to the letter. So this is good. It sounds like they were proactive and moved quickly, and one would hope that they would. But it's just you look at this, and it's not who you would imagine is a predator, right? We've got a stereotype in our head about what these people look like. This looks like a totally normal person right here. And this is something I think we have to continually talk about, these stories, because we want to believe that everybody who comes into the church was called there by God, and that it's his will that everybody should be there. But the reality is that Satan commissions many agents as well to come in and destroy the church, and that the only way to know the difference between the children of God and the children of this age is to scrutinize them, is to keep watch over them, to watch over one another in love. And so that means we have to have culture of accountability within our churches. You know, there's a culture and then there's a policy. So the basic policy that I think needs to be in place is nobody works with children alone ever. Children or youth. There should never be a time where they're one-on-one with children or youth. There should always be at least one other adult present. There should be a hermeneutic of suspicion between us. A lot of people think that you can't do church well with that, but when we're guarding each other's hearts, that's a loving thing to do. And when someone is threatened by someone else watching them, that's not a good thing. You know, so if somebody ever wants to come in and watch me and interact with me and see how I hold the office that I do, that's very welcome. 100% transparency here. That is not taken as an insult. If they're coming in and saying, I know you're a pedophile, that would be a bit insulting. But just watch, you know. When people are just not willing to be overseen, that's a problem. Your church should have that policy. But the culture should be all kinds of people carry sin. Every person coming into the church was born in sin. Sin is still clinging to a lot of us. And some of us have it in us to confess that sin, repent of that sin, turn from that sin. But a lot of us, probably a majority of us, want to hold on to certain sins, not talk about them, not relinquish them. And when that's the case, are we going to expose one another? One of the distinctively Methodist cultural, the reason that the Wesleyan class took off, it originally started as a fundraising campaign where the leader would go and collect funds from people at their homes. When it happened, the very first time, The leader went to people's homes that were in these classes and found them behaving in ways that were despicable. Not all of them, but some of them. And they came back and said, we probably shouldn't be doing this. I caught some people in some embarrassing positions. And John Wesley said, no, this is now the norm. We can't have fakers in our midst. We can't have pretenders. We can't have charlatans. And that's the case in the church, especially among our leadership. It should be the case with all of our membership, but especially with those who are entrusted with leadership, especially with leadership over young people. I don't see anything wrong with actually requiring that they have I think it's called covenant eyes. There are businesses that take men in particular struggle with pornography, but women do too. It's not appropriate for anyone in church leadership to ever look at pornography, especially child pornography. Completely inappropriate, but much more common than we really want to acknowledge or deal with. It's hard to say how common because this is something that has been seen as taboo to talk about in our culture. We talked about it when the Roman Catholic Church was guilty, but oh my gosh, when you start looking at large city school systems and you see how much sexual abuse of children is in the public school system in, say, Chicago public schools, the rates far outstrip the Roman Catholic Church per capita. This is an era where routinely there are large busts of networks of mostly men, but some women who have massive stockpiles of child pornography. I've read credible stories about terrible, despicable things happening to young children. In fact, one of the primary debunkers of Pizzagate was recently arrested for raping a very small child. This is something that is much more prevalent in our culture than we want to deal with. But we need to reckon with a lot of people who come into our churches are carrying this sin. They need to be confronted with this sin. They need to repent of this sin. They need to be exposed when they persist in this sin. It happens in our churches. If for some reason we imagine it would only happen in the Southern Baptist Church, but not in the Global Methodist Church, that is really stupid. Every single organization that has people in it is vulnerable to this kind of abuse, and we need to make sure that we're doing our part to prevent it.